Hi everybody, my name is Dennis Noble, and this is my Ruger 1022. So as you can see, it's been done up to look kind of like an M1 carbine. First thing that I did when I modified it, I changed out the stock. Now for those of you who haven't changed out a stock on a 1022, it's really easy. The factory stock has a barrel band up front similar to this one. It's one screw, barrel band slides off. On the back, one screw as well. The factory stock actually will retain the screw for you. I believe I needed to keep the screw for the aftermarket one, but either way, once you've got those screws out, you put the safety selector in the middle, and then you just kind of wiggle the whole thing and it comes right out. Now once you got the stock off, that's a great time to do things like a BX trigger, which I was hoping to have by now. Unfortunately, it's still in the mail. If you can do any other internals, the only other thing I've done so far is, I can't pronounce the brand, I've kind of given up on it, Volkswagen, something weird like that. It's an automatic bolt release. So the way it normally works, you fire your last shot, the bolt's still forward, you pull the bolt back, you hit the little switch, locks it in the back, you swap out your mag, and then you got to pull the bolt back, hit the switch again, bolt goes forward. In this case, all I got to do now is pull back on the bolt. So a little more like the M1 carbines work. So next thing that I swapped out, if you can kind of see it here, is the sights. So the factory sights are actually really good, but I wanted something a little more M1 carbine like, and so I got these Tech Sights Model 100. You adjust the windage in the back with a tool similar to what's used for an AR-15 or the original M16A1, I think, actually used this particular tool. The little knob on the side, you turn it, gives you your windage. There's also a dual ghost ring back here for long and short range. Short range is up to 200 yards, long range beyond that. Never shot anything over 200 yards with a 22, but hey, you know, you can do it. The front sight, you see, is also like the M1 carbine. Got the protection on the sides here, and it adjusts also with that little tool, same way that the old M16s do. Changing out the sights was probably the only hard part on this, and it wasn't even all that hard. All you really needed was a hammer and a punch to get the old sights off. The new one just slides right in, and there's a couple little screws, one on each side, and then a set screw on the front, and that holds it in. The rear sight is just two flathead screws that take the place of your rear scope ring mounts. So really easy stuff to do. You don't have to be a gunsmith to do it. You could leave the rear sight on if you wanted to. I took it off. The upper handguard here does have a hole for the rear sight, so you could keep the factory sights with this stock, but I wanted, you know, the more authentic looking sights. Now, you can get a rear or a upper handguard here without this hole. It's like another $20 or something. They didn't have any available at the time I ordered this stock, so you know, one day I'll get it. Unfortunately, you cannot order the stock with that handguard on it. You can only get it with the one with the hole. So, next accessory, sling. This one's made by a company called World War Supply. Their thing is doing reproduction uniform parts, accessories, and so on from probably about the Civil War on up till about now. So they make these using all the exact same specifications that the military gave back in the 40s. Yeah, it's got the oiler in back and that notch in there. I don't use the oiler for anything except holding the sling in. I'm not running around on the battlefield or anything with this, so I don't need the oil. But other than that, you can get the slings in a couple different colors. I went for this faded olive drab, kind of give it a more worn look, I guess you could say. Now, most people think that you know, your accessories for your 1022 is only stuff that you can bolt to it. I go a little beyond that. Case in point, case. So this case, also made by World War Supply, matches the sling, that kind of faded drab color. Same story, made exactly like the originals. In this case, I opted for the optional fleece lining. I figured a couple bucks extra. You know, it was worth it for the little bit of protection that it gives, a little shock absorption kind of thing in case you bump into it, which inevitably is going to happen. You know, case even has, you know, shoulder strap on it. Makes it easy to carry around, and it looks right with a gun too, which is pretty cool. Fits any 1022 unless you have something with a really long barrel too, so it's got a little bit of extra room in here. It's a nice case. Now, for those of you looking behind me wondering what the story is here, I got the ultimate 1022 accessory. This is my 2001 Honda Shadow 750 Ace, and it's done up in kind of a military-like style. The original theme for the bike was kind of look like classic Harley or something, so that's why they call it the American Classic Edition, and I've done tons of work to it. Including, up front here, is a rifle scabbard, just like the old 42 WLAs had. For those who don't know, the 42 WLA, that was the military Harley during World War II. So, rifle and case fit right into the scabbard. I've got a belt type strap here. Just goes in there like so. And then with a loose end, it kind of double it back so it's not flopping around. And there we go. The only rifle accessory you're ever going to see that'll get you to the shooting range. In style, might I add. Well, the scabbard does come off, because obviously you don't want to go running around with it on there all the time. And I fabricated the whole thing, the scabbard, the mount, and everything. The mount's nothing real fancy. It's 4 pieces of steel welded together and chrome plated. And then it's bolted onto the windshield mount, so it's on there real, real solid. It's not going anywhere. And the scabbard just slides onto it with these 4 little loops. And it actually doesn't need it. The wind holds it on. It doesn't need any kind of positive lock or anything like that. Now, I wouldn't go grocery shopping or something and leave this on the front of the bike. Obviously, I would probably walk away, but you know, if we're just going to the range, parades, running around for fun, it's perfect for that. Another thing that I've got up front here is a 50 cal ammo can. I used the helmet lock on the front here to lock the ammo can. Took a little work to get that just right, but gives me a good spot to lock things onto it. There's no bolts or nuts or anything on the outside. Everything's welded and bolted internally. So if I have a concealed carry piece, I can put it in there. Range kit, ammo, stuff like that can go in there as well. Speaking of range kit, got to have a proper range kit to go with your M1 carbine look like. This one's a 30 cal ammo can. Costco sells these now, for anyone who doesn't know. 30 and 50 cal come together for like $19 as of the other day. Got some BX25 mags, locks, and that's the tool I mentioned earlier for adjusting the sights. It's got the little 5 prongs for the front, larger 5 prong in the rear. So this mag pouch was also made by World War Supply, same story as the others, same color and everything, so it matches. Just happens to fit a pair of BX25 mags. Kind of cool. Can't close it with them in there, unfortunately, but it does work and you can put it on your belt. Now, during World War II, some of the GIs actually figured out you could slide this over your stock and you could use it as a buttstock ammo pouch, which is what it sometimes gets called. Only downside to that is there's a metal snap on here and that'll scratch your stock, so I left it off. But for the range, it's just fine. You put it on your belt like so. As far as the BX25 mags go, if you're looking for an aftermarket mag, there's some decent ones out there. But the only ones I really found reliable and durable were the Ruger factory mags. You know, there's a few brands that are good, but you know, why waste the money? Just get the Ruger mags. You'll never want another one anyway. Other than that, a few other things on the bike. A Palmilla flag. I don't know if you can see it. Hopefully you can. Got to show your veteran pride there. And of course, you know, Need your helmet for riding, eye protection for the range and the road. Range kit, I keep a bunch of earplugs in there. You know, for 22, it's not very loud most of the time. I find that all you really need, earplugs are, you know, sometimes nothing at all, but it's usually the guy next to me that's, you know, got something that's 10 times louder than me. So that's about everything that I can think of. Oh, and for those who are wondering, there is actually a method to the left versus right side on mounting the scabbard. The old, the 42 WLAs I mentioned earlier, they usually put the rifle on the right side. And the idea was that if you were ambushed while you were driving down the road, you could stand up, reach over your windshield. Half the time they had them, half the time they didn't, but reach over the windshield with your right hand, draw your rifle, and return fire while driving down a dirt road. I've not tried this. Kids don't try this at home. I can't see that working out very well. If there's a World War II vet out there that's done this, I would love to hear from you. I would love to hear how well it did or didn't work, and I'm sure it didn't work very well. Now, for those of you motorcycle riders wondering, well, wait, if the gun's on the right side and you draw your right hand, how are you working the throttle? The old Harleys actually had the throttle on the left side. The military Harleys did, not the civilian version. That way you could still throttle and, you know, draw your rifle. I figured since my throttle's on the right side, like every other modern bike, I'd swap it around so it's on the left side now. Plus it's balanced out with the ammo can too, so because, you know, there's aerodynamic forces that act on it. And one of the hard parts actually even about making the rifle mount was getting the angle just right so that it wasn't trying to steer the bike to the right all the time on me. But once I got that all figured out, everything worked out perfect. So, and I get a lot of good, interesting looks going down the road. A lot of thumbs up, a lot of curious looks, things like that. So it's a lot of fun, and it always gets attention at the range too. So that's about all I got. Show right now. If anybody's got any questions, comments, suggestions, I'd love to hear from you. And like I said, if there's a World War II vet out there that actually drew his rifle and shot at the enemy while riding, I'd love to hear from you too. So, hope you've enjoyed the video, and you know, hope to see you at the range.